The topic is Sustainable Development Goals and Climate Action in India. So, what India is doing for the climate change and what are the activities going on in our country? This is the core idea of my presentation. And first, I will start with the agreements, climate change agreements at a global level. Then, what is the India's progress towards the goal? Then, what is the India's action plan, action plan on climate change? Then, lastly, I will discuss the challenges, initiatives, and the implications. So, it would be good to start with the definition of the sustainable development. And the Brundtland Commission in 1987, it has coined the term sustainable development, and it is the first authority to define the sustainable development. So here we compare the utilization of the resources and how we are going to meet out the needs of the future generation. So if you read, as you may be aware of this definition, I need not to read once again. So the development that meets the needs of the present generation without compromising the needs of future generation. So this definition is discussed over the past 3 decades, but now there is a intention to think about this definition itself. Now at present we are living in a polluted and poor environmental condition, but we cannot assure the same. So we have to work a lot to solve the issue and to hand over a good environment to our future generation, and it should be our need. So before these sustainable development goals, we had Millennium Development Goals, which was initiated in 2000, and they had a benchmark of 15 years up to 2015. So they had 8 principles, Millennium Development Goals principles. Then they planned to have a target within 2050 we have to attain so and so. But we could not attain the goals, and that too it is not an easier thing to achieve everything. Then after 15 we have brought this sustainable development goals, and where we have extended splitted all these millennium development goals into 17 sustainable development goals. And my observation is, even once I recorded this and once I discussed this, if we might have attained all these 8 goals, millennium development goals, there is no need for sustainable development goal. And as we have failed, now we have widened our scope and we are working for the sustainable development goals. So among the 17 goals, I have taken the 13th goal, that is climate action. I am not going to discuss about other goals. I am very specific with only the 13th goal. And now what is climate? And climate is a long-term pattern in change in weather, and it would happen in 30 years. But this climate is measured by the temperature, humidity, atmospheric pressure, wind, and rainfall. By taking all these factors, we are measuring the climate. Now, what is the climate change? The climate change refers to the change in the atmosphere, the humidity, rainfall, and everything. And according to the United Nations, it says it is a long-term shifts in temperature and weather patterns. But actually, it will happen naturally. Naturally, there will be some changeover. But what happened from the 18th century, because of the human activity, there is climate change. So because of that, there is a need to discuss this climate change issue. Otherwise, there is no need. Naturally, there will be some change, rarely some change. But you can imagine from the 18th century, because of the human activity, burning of fossil fuels like coal, fuel. There is a climate change, and there is a need to discuss about the issue. Then about the global warming, and at present the global warming is 1.09 degrees Celsius, and if you want to halt this, we have to work a lot, and they expect that within 2030 this may hike to 1.5 or 2 degrees Celsius, and we cannot be very particular, and that too within 2 decades we may face this huge climate change and huge global temperature, and it may affect almost all the sectors of the globe. So this is the major issue: global temperature and climate change. These are the global issues. When there is increase in global mean temperature, and automatically there will be a climate change, and we have to face various issues. So what the whole world has taken action against this climate change action, and the United Nations has brought various legal instruments as a governing body for the whole world. It has brought various initiatives. Among the various legal instruments, UNFCCC is a pioneering initiative of the United Nations. It was brought in 1992, and around 197 countries are a member of the country. And the major aim of the UNFCCC is to halt, to control the dangerous human interference in the climate system. As I said earlier, we face this problem from the 18th century, and there is a need, and we have to control the human activity so that we can overcome the climate change issue. That is the core idea of this convention. Then they brought a Kyoto Protocol and Paris Agreement, and both are interrelated, and both work for climate change action. And this Kyoto Protocol was brought in the year 1995 with 197 parties to the convention, and it aims at reducing the emissions. In case of Paris Agreement, in 2015, it continued with the work of the Kyoto Protocol, and they joined together and they plan to reduce the carbon emissions, future carbon emissions. And that too, they were very particular about the mean temperature, global temperature, and they set a target of halting this global mean temperature. These are the core aim of this Kyoto Protocol as well as the Paris Agreement. And in 2019 and 20, we had a Climate Action Summit and the Climate Ambition Summit. And altogether, every this summit or convention, it targets to control the emissions so that we can manage the temperature and climate change. That is the core idea. And recently in 2021, the COP26 meeting held at Glasgow, and there our own country, they have given certain assurance that within 2070 they will reach the zero emission level, and within 2030 they have given various attainments that they will meet 50% of their energy requirements from renewable energy, and they will reduce the projected carbon emissions by 2030. And the CAC General Director Sumita Narendra, she has computed that we have to work a lot to attain this 1 billion tons of reduction of carbon emissions. We have to work, under 22% we have to reduce. And by the 2030, we have promised that India will reduce the carbon intensity of its economy by less than 45%. And by giving all this promise, what India actually is doing, what way we are working to attain all these agreements, promises.
Actually, impossible నుంచి tally కాను ఇప్పుడే కొంటే వీటిలో వెచ్చింది వీటిలో
How we are going to meet out all these promises? So that is the important thing to be discussed. That is what I have given. What is India's progress towards sustainable development goals? And we were a part in Millennium Development Goals, Sustainable Development Goals, and the Kyoto Protocol or the Paris Agreement. In all agreements, conventions, we are a part. But what we have done to attain all these sustainable development goals? That is the question. And here we need not to blame others. What we are doing, what measures we have taken to show as a model to the whole world. And I have taken two computations. One is United Nations computation of climate action of India, and another is India's own computation by Nidi Ayog. If you kindly see the table, you can see what are the attainments that we have reached so far from 2016 to 21. The United Nations computes the sustainable development attainment for all the countries from 2016. Before that we had Millennium Development Goals. And if you take the climate action, they are taking only the emissions. Now they have added two more variables, but it is not recently they have added. So they are very particular about the carbon emissions. How far we are reducing the carbon emissions, so that it is a great action towards climate change. So if you closely observe the rank and as well as the score, in the initial stage we were in the 110, the rank was 110. Then at present we are 120. So over the period you can see that in 2008 alone there was a good change over, but after that it has fallen. So we are in the 120th position at present. In the aspect of the score, there is a increase over the period. But if you take the year of 2019, there was a hike, but after there is a sharp decline. So in respect to the rank as well as respect to the score, we are not sustainable. We are not moving sustainably. This is what we would be able to understand from this United Nations computation. And if you take the carbon emissions per capita, it has moved from 1.6 tons per capita to 1.9. So here we could see there is an increase in the carbon emissions. In case if we might have reduced, then we can say that somewhat we are working for climate change. But from the 2016 to 2021 data, we could be able to understand that we are not sustainable in attaining the climate change action. That is the results that we get from the United Nations computation. What we are giving. Sorry. Next is the Sustainable Development Goal for India, which is measured by the Nidi Ayog. And they have taken three parameters to measure the climate action. If you take the case of United Nations, they take only the carbon emissions. By looking at the carbon emissions, they are calculating how far we are working for climate change. But in case of India's measurement, they are taking what are the outcomes out of the climate change. First they take The number of human lives lost due to extreme weather. Next, they are taking renewable energy out of the total installed generating capacity, in percentage. Then they are taking CO2 saved from LED bulbs. So they are not measuring the carbon emissions, rather what are the outcomes that we face due to climate change. That is for the first one. Next, how much we are generating the renewable energy and how much we are moving towards reduction in carbon emissions through LED bulbs. So, in the initial stage itself, I will say that these variables will not be enough to measure the climate change, but in spite, we are moving forward. Just from 2018 only, India has started to compute this index. So we have to go a long way and we have to concentrate on still more variables, and not only these LED bulbs, beyond that how industries are moving forward, I think we have to think about that. I say in the initial stage itself, these variables or these variables are not enough for measuring the climate change. Still we have to work. So coming to the first variable, that is number of human lives that we have lost due to the weather events. That is the numbers per 1 crore population. So I have downloaded this data from our Nidhi Aayog website. So for the 2019 and 20 only it is complete, for 18 it is incomplete, and 2021 also it is not updated. Still many union territories and states, they have not updated their data. Have I am going to present only the data that are available with us. So if you take if you have a glance over the results, the target is 0. We don't want to lose anyone due to the poor climate. So the target is 0. But if you see in India, in 2019 it was 16, now it has declined. It is a good outcome. As compared to 19, it is a good outcome. But our target is 0. Here if you just observe all the states up to 10, up to West Bengal, we could see the life lost has increased, which is not a good sign. And if you see the remaining 11 to 16, the states from Arunachal Pradesh to Uttar Pradesh, there is some decline, which is a good outcome. So I have computed the outcomes here. I could not see because of this video that I am using. Just I will tell how many states. No states have achieved the Sustainable Development Goal. 0. In 10 states it is increasing. It should not be there. But stagnation is 0. And when it comes to declining, only 6 states. So we expect more outcomes in case of declining, because we don't want to lose anyone due to climate change or bad weather, extreme weather events. So here also we have not attained the goal. Even though the variables are not complete, as I said earlier, even in attaining this we have failed. And it ensures that there is a extreme bad weather conditions due to climate change. And the next is the renewable energy out of the total installed generating capacity. In case of this generation capacity also, we have gave a target of 40%, wherein the percentage from 2019 to 20 has increased. And also we could see some sustainable development goal achievements from even I have included union territories and states, everything I have clubbed. from one Andaman Nicobar Islands to Sikkim up to 17 states and union territories, we could see system development achievements. In other aspects, it is increasing, but our target is 40. So, if it is above 40, we can say it as a sustainable development achievement. But in some states, it is increasing. Okay, we have to congratulate those states, that's all. But in some states, it is stagnant, there is no change. So, if you see, look at the data, in renewable energy generation, we are moving somewhat positively. So, it is a good move. And coming to the next CO2 saved from LED bulbs. Actually, these LED bulbs, it does not emit more gas as the conventional bulbs, and it also energy saving bulbs. So they have taken this as an indicator. And when you compare the target, it was 165 in 19 and it was 103 in 2020. There is a declining observation or a declining results. And in case of India, the outcome is only 28 point something because there is a stagnation. We could not reach still more. And the thing is, only 4 states and union territories it has achieved the sustainable development goals. And other states, we could see some increase and we could see some stagnation and declining. So in this attainment, we are not good. So you can see declining is around 13, stagnation is 18. It is not satisfactory. By taking all these 3 variables, major variables that India has computed its sustainable development attainments, only in renewable energy just we are happy. In other factors, we are not good. So what I could conclude from all this observation is, in case of United Nations computation, as well as India's Niti Aayog's computation, we are not moving towards sustainable path. So it is like a record. Over the period, what I have done? Over the period, I cannot go on speak. I cannot go on give promise. What I have attained? So by observing all this data, India's path towards sustainable development goal is not good, and we have to work for it. We have policies. We have drafted policies. Even for attaining Millennium Development Goals, we have policies. To attain Sustainable Development Goals, we have policies. There is no problem with the policies. And if you look at this presentation, India's National Action Plan on Climate Change, we have 8 national missions, from a national solar mission up to the strategic knowledge for climate change 2008. So we have certain parameters, we have certain objectives, goals to overcome the climate change. See the solar mission, enhance energy efficiency, sustainable habitat, water mission. So we have covered all the issues. What are the issues that we are facing in India? We have covered to solve all those issues and to reach a good climate. But the results are not positive. When we see the sustainable development attainments, we are not happy. So what the government is contributing to the climate change? Okay, we have 6 missions. For attaining all these missions, whether the government funding is enough, So this is the, for one decade I have taken the data, the total budget expenditure from 10 to 11 to 21 to 22. This is the amount, total budget amount. And what is the contribution to or percentage share to Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change? And if you look at the percentage share, it is 0.1, 0.09. Now it is 0.08. This is the share that we are contributing for the environment, forest and climate change. In practice, over the period, not by this year, from 2000 for the past one decade, this is the share that we are allocating for the climate change or environment, forest, everything. A huge amount of share is going to defense. It is going for external affairs and consumer affairs. We are spending for various aspects, but we have left the important aspects. So environment is important, climate change action has to be done, education is important, health is important, but we are not allocating more funds for this area. For defense we are spending huge amount. This is the scenario, what to do. The whole world is spending for defense. So security is very important. We are spending huge amount. As we contribute more to the defense and other sectors, we are unable to concentrate. See, you can see that 0.10. This is the share that we contribute to the environment. So next, still more interesting to see that how much the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change is allocating for the climate change action. Of the total amount from 17 to 18 to 21 to 22, the amount is in crores. You can see the amount. This is the amount that we contribute. See here in 1819 somehow we have contributed more for climate action, and now you can see only 30. Of the total amount allocation towards this forest and climate change ministry, for climate action alone we are spending only 1%. This is the actual scenario that we are doing. So it is not enough in terms of funds. There is a huge need to concentrate more. Then only we can see some changes in climate. Otherwise, the climate or global temperature will go on increase and we will be under trouble. And next, you can see the subsidy given by the central government for the energy amount from 14 to 20 in crores. Here, for transmission, distribution, coal, and renewable energy, electric vehicles. If you take the two cases, it will support, it will help to manage the climate action. Just a minute. Just we can see the subsidy that our government is giving. For transmission and distribution alone, we are spending 61% of the subsidy. And if you take the renewable energy and electric vehicles, we are spending only 5% of the total subsidy for the energy. 5% alone we are spending for controlling or overcoming the climate change issues, that is for renewable energy and electric vehicles. And the remaining 95% of the subsidy is going to oil and gas, coal and transmission and distribution. And particularly we are spending huge amount for this energy distribution. So there we spend huge amount, 60% is going, subsidy is going for this transmission and distribution. And only 5% of the subsidy we are giving. So, for example, you imagine that if you give huge subsidy for this renewable energy and electricity, then there will be a change. I will explain in the other slides. So here we are unable to give more subsidy to encourage more numbers of people or investment on this renewable and electric vehicles. So altogether, from the sustainable development goals results and government fundings, we are not happy. So now where we have to concentrate? Where we have to concentrate? According to me, we can have mission, everything. We need not to. We can draft. Nothing wrong in it. Let us start from where the problem arises. So I have given 5 sources of major carbon emitters of India. You can you can see here from 1 to 4, the contribution is 80% of carbon emissions. Remaining 7 sources of the total sources, 7 plus 4, 11 sources. Of the 11 sources, first these 4 sources are contributing 80% of the carbon. So remaining some 1%, we need not to bother. So we are able to point out the emissions from electricity and heat. 34% carbons are released. From agriculture, 21% is released. From manufacturing, 16%. From transport, 8%. These are the major emitters, carbon emitters. So we are able to identify the spots where the problem is. If you take the case of United States, their emission is high from transport. Then only electricity and heat. And you might have heard in United States, all will be having cars. The housemaid, each and everyone will be having a car. So there the emission is high through the transport. But in case of India, it is better in case of transport. But in other aspects, in electricity and heat, through the coal, in agriculture using these chemical fertilizer pesticides, in manufacturing production process, it emits more carbon. So my identification is, these are the 4 hot spots where we need to concentrate. Okay, I will discuss all these 4 emitters. What is the challenges, what is the government initiatives, and what is the implications. So I will continue with these 4 issues in the future, in the further discussions. The first issue is alternative for emissions from electricity and heat. So what we can bring as an alternative? Renewable energy is the alternative. So we are able to understand. So the first issue is emissions from electricity and heat. To overcome this issue, what we can do? We can move on to the renewable energy. So if you see the data, how much share of fuel type in overall energy consumption? Here we could see 89.7 are from fossil fuel and only 9% from the renewable energy, and meager amount is from the nuclear energy. So here also we have not attained renewable energy, even though our India's measurement shows some progress. So coming to the energy target, our Prime Minister has said that within 2030 we will attain 500 gigawatts of renewable energy. If you see the 2022 target, for solar it is 100, the total target is 100, and if you see the installed capacity, it is 24.33, and under implementation it is 13.8, and tendered it is 60.3. But the actual scenario, the total attainment in respect to the installed capacity is only 73.35. By 2022 itself, we are unable to attain the target. So you can see the graph. Just it is around 100 by 21. Our target is this, to reach 175 gigawatts. But actually at present it is only 100. So there is a problem within this 11 months we cannot attain this goal. So if that is the case, how we are going to reach the promise that we have given in the COP26 of 500 gigawatts? 500, imagine. Now we are in only 100 in the end of the 21. Within this 10 years we have to move towards 400 gigawatts. How we will do that? So this is the question. So simply we cannot blame the government. So government has taken certain initiatives. So what are the initiatives that the government has taken for renewable energy? And even in the down to earth, Sunita Narayan of CSE, she has published an article about this COP26 promises and how we are going to attain those promises. Very interesting article. If you are interested, you can go through the article. So the government initiatives. In case of wind energy, it says no electricity duty for 5 years. And for solar energy installation, it gives 40% subsidy from 1 to 3 kilowatts of solar system. Then 4 to 10, 20%. And if it is more than 10 kilowatts, what is the, no, there is no subsidy. And 90% subsidy is given for solar water pump. And at present we are consuming 1208 kilowatts hour electricity. So we can imagine that how much we are consuming. That is 2021 data of per capita consumption. And at the same time government is giving certain subsidy also. And this if you take the case of solar power, this various solar power system, we have 3 systems: on grid, off grid and hybrid. On grid is you can install a solar panel and you can use the solar, and if you produce more energy then you can transmit through the electricity lines, electricity board lines. So others will be consuming. At the same time it will be metered how much you have generated and you have transmitted to other. Some big shops like Chennai Silks, Saravana stores, they are installing wind energy and they are producing electricity and they are getting the same amount at Chennai. Similarly, the logic is the same. On-grid solar power system is just we can have a panel, solar panel, and we can use electricity from the panel, and the surplus electricity can be transmitted through the EB lines. Off-grid is we have to spend on batteries. We have to store in the batteries and we have to use. So we need not to wait for the government and other responses. The hybrid is in both the ways. You can save as well as you can transmit the electric power to the line EB lines also. These are the available solar systems, and government is also giving subsidy. What is the challenges in this renewable energy? And it is also very important. And if you see the challenges, the solar energy is concerned high preliminary cost, storage infrastructure, large initial investment, building manufacturing capability. These are the issues that we have. Even one of my student Venkat asked, even if you install a solar system, we have to deplete certain natural resources. A good question he asked, but we have to forego sometime some declaration so that in future we can be sustainable and at least we can manage the available resources. And the implications, what we have to do to overcome these issues. Compulsory installation of solar power for high income households. So we cannot go on skip and giving reasons. We cannot say only government failure or policy failure. Even in case of community, we also commit mistakes. We are the reason for this all these issues. As we are discussing about yesterday's presentation was we have to control the consumption production, and Venkat also asked about this limits to growth model. So whether we are not speaking about the population growth, that there is a huge need population control. There is we have to concentrate, but we are not doing that. So we people we are the responsible so that we have to concentrate. So the high income households we have to make some strict policies. Unless otherwise we cannot attain anything, we cannot do anything with the policies. So we have to make compulsory installation of solar power. Particularly the rich people, they can invest. And even if you ask the salary people, if you give some income tax exemption or something, we have to do that. Some exemption or some subsidies, something has to be done. Still more, it is not enough for the poor or middle income group. For high income group, no problem. They have to do that. That we have to bring out. We have to think it over. Then large scale industries, they have to do that. Particularly, they can go on this on-grid solar power. They have to invest in wind energy. We need not give excuses for the industries. They have to do that. When we bring FDI, we are very particular. Even in the recent economic forum, our Prime Minister said that this is the right time to invest in India. We are welcoming with the carpet. So when they are coming, when we ask them to at least invest on renewable energy, but only 17% of the FDI is towards renewable energy. Others are they are not worrying about the environmental management. If you ask them to invest on renewable energy, they will say that we will do in our own country, and we cannot expect this FDI. So these are the things that we have to do to attain the renewable energy. That is the first addressing the first issue. Coming to the second issue, alternative for emissions from agriculture. The solution is organic farming. The solution is organic farming. And if you take the case of India, about 2.78 million hectares of farm land are under the organic farming, and this is 2% of 140.1 million hectares of our country, where we are contributing only 2% of the organic farm. Organic farming is only 2%, around 3%. So what are the challenges? Just we cannot blame the farmers. Even as yesterday I discussed with Balai sir, who made them to move from organic to inorganic, and how we could climb once again towards organic farming. So it is a right. Once when we suffered for food, when there was food scarcity, we suggested for green revolution, and the same scientists they are urging for organic farming at present. So there is a challenge now. For the past 50 years, 5 decades I have practiced, or 40 years I have practiced modern agriculture, and all of a sudden I am unable to move towards organic farming. So what are the challenges that a farmer is facing? Shortage of organic biomass, lack of financial support, and high cost of organic products, time consuming certification process and marketing. These are the issues. But actually these are not the issues. There is a problem in solving these challenges, and I have given the implications. When you speak about the inputs, manure or pesticide, panchakavya, just you will get from the livestock. But nowadays we could not see huge population of the livestock. So there we have to concentrate. First, if you increase the number of livestock, we will get the organic manure, organic pesticide we will get. So we have to concentrate. As a farmer, if he concentrate on this livestock population, and automatically he can generate more organic manure, and he can overcome this problem of input. He need not worry about the input. At free of cost he will get. Even rearing livestock is also a income. So we need not worry about it. Then rearing poultry, just in Annamalai University, they had a project of integrated farming system. For 1 crore, they took a project and they have studied where we can rear the poultry, we can rear some fish, some duck, so that it will consume the waste, insects, and other negative externalities in the lands, and it will help, and it will also give manure, so that this integrated farming system will support organic farming, so that we need not to worry. We need not to worry about the organic farming as we are not having inputs like that. We have to initiate. The government has to do that. It has to initiate. Then the people will follow. When we were in organic farming, the government only said advice to move towards the modern agriculture. We adapted. Now once again, the government has to take some strict interference to overcome all these issues, and allowing all the fertilizer companies and chemical fertilizers and pesticides, and speaking about organic farming will not solve the issue. So we have to use some new techniques to adapt this organic farm. And if a farmer is getting inputs at free of cost, we can give the organic products at a minimum price as compared to the conventional agricultural methods, modern agricultural methods. So now there is a problem. If you go to a mall, you can see organic product is highly priced, and the other product is comparatively low. As a rational consumer, he will choose only the product which is lesser price. So when we get free inputs at a large extent, a farmer can gain more income, so that he can give his output at a competitive price, and there won't be any problem in marketing. All will be coming forward to purchase. So the problem starts with the input, and even in the time period we are speaking, it may take more time period. So that has to be solved by these implications. Coming to the third issue, that is alternative for emissions from manufacturing. So the suggestion that implication that I feel is carbon trading will control the emissions from the manufacturing. How it will control? So if you take the case of carbon trading, India is not following carbon trading, even though it is a signatory of Kyoto Protocol and Paris Agreement. It is not under the carbon trading. What carbon trading is? Carbon trading is initiated by the European Union emission trading, and it has classified the countries Annexer A and Annexer B countries. Under Annexer A countries, there are 43 countries, and remaining countries are under Annexer B. So what they have to do, the Annexer A countries has to adopt this carbon trading, and they can invest in the Annexer B countries also. But there is an issue among the 43 countries. Some countries are in Annexer A as well as Annexer B. Some 13 countries, it should not be there, but it is in the Annexer A as well as B also. So only 43 countries are coming under this Annexer A, which adopts this carbon trading. So this carbon trading is functioning under two terms, major forms. One is cap and trade and offset. So what is cap and trade and what is offset? Cap and trade is the United Nations, European Union will give some target of carbon emission. For example, 100 tons. the benchmark will be 100 tons for a industry A and B. For both A and B, 100 tons of emissions they can release. They must not emit more than that. That is the cap. If the country A is releasing 80 tons of carbon emission, then it can sell the 20 tons of emission to some other industries, those who are polluting more. Because as per the European Union cap, you cannot emit more than 100. So you want to produce more, then you have to purchase from others. You cannot do anything. You cannot pollute more than this. So this is what the cap and trade says. So it controls. Now you can raise a question. Sir, if all are targeting 100 tons of carbons, what they will do? They can choose carbon offsets. Okay, what is carbon offsets? The countries from Annexure A, that is 43 countries, they can invest in the Annexure B countries, developing countries like India, in renewable energy, that is solar, wind energy. They can invest on forest, and from the investment, how much carbon they have saved, that amount of carbon can be released through their industry. I hope that you understand. From cap, if all are reaching the cap, I want to produce more, there is a demand for my commodity, then what I can do? I can go for offsets. The European Union is allowing that. So even though you are polluting in some place, you are investing in some place for carbon control. You can ask, sir, releasing in one place, as yesterday we discussed, attaining some environment friendly activity in some place, somewhere we are polluting. But there is a point here. It is not like carbon tax. This carbon trading is better than the carbon tax. How? In case of carbon tax, I can pay tax how much I am releasing. How much of effluents I am releasing, I can pay the tax and I can go on pollute. But European Union sets certain limitations. You cannot go on pollute. It will reduce the benchmarks. This year it will give 100 tons, next year it will give 80 tons, 70 tons, slowly it will come down. So that there will be a problem in attainment of the resources. So compared to the carbon tax, carbon trading is better, where China is coming forward voluntarily and it has done a huge work on carbon trading, and even India we can do that. But in India we do not have. We are not doing this carbon trading, and in future we have to attain that. Coming to the issue 4, the last one, alternative for transport emissions. Okay, what is the alternative for transport emissions? Battery vehicles. So what we are doing, what the government has taken as an initiative for these battery vehicles. And this Indian automobile industry is the 5th largest industry in the world, and is slated to be the 3rd largest by 2030. And this ministry announced a goal to transition from new sales of these vehicles, petrol and diesel vehicles, to 100% plug-in electric vehicles. That is moving from these conventional vehicles to electric vehicles by 2030. And the country's government is aiming to be a huge hub for this transition. For this, in 2019, it has introduced a scheme, FAME, and they give 15,000 direct incentive for two-wheelers and 10,000 to 1.5 lakhs for battery cars. So for battery vehicles, there is no road tax and registration fee. This is the government initiative. But what are the challenges that we face in having in owning a battery car or a battery two-wheel. Electric vehicle driving range, we cannot depend more on electric cars. If I want to travel to 400 kilometers or 500 kilometers, I cannot drive for a long distance. Then charging time, it will take more time. 12 hours we have to charge. To travel for 100 kilometers means how many times you will charge by the time while you are traveling 400 kilometers. So lack of charging infrastructure, limited vehicle choices, and higher upfront cost. It starts from 50,000 two-wheeler if you want to purchase. Then difficulty in finding a mechanic. If you want to repair a battery two-wheelers or a car, it is very difficult to find a mechanic. These are the problems. What are the implications? We have to reduce the price. We have to extend the infrastructure. And for high capacity batteries, we have to reduce the prices. And we have to go for some long range electric vehicles. And the battery technologies we have to concentrate. And scrappage policy. If I want to return back my internal combustion engine, the two-wheelers that I am using, petrol vehicles, and government must have a policy to take my two-wheeler as a exchange and to get a battery vehicles. So if everything is assured, if all these policies are undertaken, we can extend the coverage of battery vehicles and we can solve the issue. So I have discussed the 4 issues. And what are the government initiatives and what are the challenges and what we have to bring as a implication. At last, as a concluding remark, I don't want to summarize everything. I want to give a conclusion as a idea, that is afforestation program. I used to share this even in all my classes. If we concentrate more on afforestation, if we have enough trees, at least we can overcome various issues. But we are not concentrating. Just we had a Green India mission. This mission is one among the 8 missions. This mission aim is to enhance the forest cover. But we are able to achieve only 2.8% of its plantation target of 5 million hectares according to the economic survey. It shows that only meager percent we are able to attain through the Green India mission. And a parliamentary committee says that it is underfunded. They have introduced the scheme, but they have not allocated the funds. Without allocating fund, how you can attain this Green India mission? Nothing we can do. So there we have to concentrate. And they are counting only the trees. For example, if you see recently they are telling that there is a hike in forest cover. How there is hike means just they are counting the plants, saplings, and they are telling that we have increased the forest cover. It is not like that. See, if you cut one tree and even if you plant 1,000 saplings, it will not be equal. So it will take number of years. But by that you cannot say that we have increased the forest cover. There we have to concentrate. And there is a decline in forest cover by 2,621 square kilometers. And also the scrub and the wastelands, it has increased by 5,320 square kilometers. So we have to concentrate on afforestation program. As you can take 5 issues in mind, the previous 4 issues and this is a issue, forest cover. And if you do everything, then we can achieve the sustainable development. And we have to bring effective implementation and redirecting the public policies. That is very important. We have to ask them. When FDI is coming, just we can request them to invest in renewable energy. That should be done by our own country investors. We can request them to do that. And the forest principle must represent the first ever commitment of responsibility beyond national boundaries. So this should be the first thing. But actually, this is the last thing in our actual performance. So supporting the joint forest management, we can bring the people collectively. The Manrega is there, we can bring those Manrega and we can bring collective action to manage the forest. If we do all this thing, to some extent, we can manage the forest. and without the people involvement or community participation, we cannot bring any change in climate. So not only that, government, policy and people, they have to join together to overcome the climate change issue. Otherwise, these sustainable development goal achievements or goals will be a goal up to 2030, and we may frame some other goals like substitute for millennium development goals, what we call sustainable development goals. So therefore, my humble request and conclusion is, we have to concentrate on renewable energy and organic farming and battery vehicles and afforestation program, so that we can overcome all those issues and we can live in a conducive environment and a good environment, good climate.